This conference will now be recorded.
All right, as always, everything we're going to be talking about today is for educational purposes only, and nothing is intended as any type of investment advice. So let's talk about our morning. Absolutely phenomenal. Now, the one thing is that we're not really getting a lot of new stocks that are coming out. And when I say new stocks, I mean stocks that are, basically that just kind of popping up out of nowhere that don't typically trade, and we see kind of those new stories. Based off of, having the Fed meeting and everything, coming out of the meetings for the government coming up this week and stuff, and then based off, it being very close to a holiday week. I'm not expecting a lot of those new ones, but I know we have some earnings. MU has earnings coming up tomorrow, and we're just going to be focusing a lot on stocks that are pretty much our everyday ones, and that's what we're seeing this afternoon by far. All right, let's talk about J&J. So this was one of the easiest trades that possibly could have happened. So we came into that 128.50. We know we had absolutely huge selling. Huge selling means that we needed a beautiful pull-up. And based off of that huge selling, we did see this morning, remember those prints we had at 130.14 that were pulled out. So the reason it got so easy is because 130 would have been a very easy starting point for the stock having to pull up from $1.50 on a stock like J&J that has a really big range at this moment. It's not a lot whatsoever. But having those prints at 130.14 told us that we needed to see at least $1 towards that upside. So 131.14 would have been the minimum that the stock had to go. Now, coming on to that upside, we did see some buying at 130. We did see some buying at 130.50 as well. But 128 we have selling from before. Some new selling we have at 128 now, and 128.50. That was just, a huge amount of selling that would coming back in. Overall, this stock is breaking this double bottom. There's no way that this stock is going to be able to hold it. And technically, it's going to be a triple bottom when it gets back. But we're going to have to pull up a little bit from that 128 and then going to be expecting a move even lower. So that is most certainly not only going to be on our list today, but it's going to be on our list probably for the next week because of the fact that this thing is just still getting a ton of volume coming in from all that news about their baby powder. All right, let's talk about PTI. So PTI, we had this morning that we were looking for, the ability for it to go back up. But look what happened. Second, the market came in, sold off. And that's our biggest problem is that if we don't have the prints in the beginning of the morning and it moves a little bit too much during the morning, what ends up happening with these cheaper stocks, a lot of times we've seen them end up coming right back because based off the amount of volume that we had that we talked about this morning, anything with, a stock that's under $10, if you can't get 50,000 shares within per minute, it usually does not look very good. And it basically did exactly what would happen if we didn't get that new buying that we were talking about needing to come in. So we ended up falling back down, nothing really there. Now, PCG is really interesting because of the fact that we know this morning there was nothing but selling. So yeah, it went down, but it moved, not very much. From bottom to top, we ended up getting 86 cents. So I didn't really look at it too much, but one thing I can tell you is that the stock needs to fall below that 24 level based off the amount of selling that we saw coming into this morning. There's no question about it. And then coming up to that 25 right now, I didn't see anything. Do I have it up still? No, I don't even have it up to check the print just because, there's just nothing there for us to really look at. So just not much. This thing is still going to be going down, but it's just, there's not really a trade there. One thing I am looking at the afternoon, though, is NBEV. So I know everything's tanking right now, and it's just a wonderful sea of selling. But overall, we have absolutely phenomenal buying at 650 in NBEV. So this thing has pulled back, and the volume is garbage, and that's a huge problem. But overall, we're going to be expecting this thing to break back up. And it's even kind of holding on this really, really low volume at that 625 level. So keep that in mind. Overall, we're going to see this thing make another move. It's not going to let me go all the way back, but we've hit 650 a bunch of times, and there's just, like I said, there's a huge amount of that buying, and this thing moving up to 65 is not even close enough to satisfy the amount of money that somebody's going to be making above that 650. So let's keep our eye on that. And the rest is just pretty much our everyday stock. So we have Apple just got beautiful selling at 165. Overall, oh my Lord, look at this. Holy shit, wow. All right, guys, so this is really interesting. Oh my Lord. All right, so we don't have any questions, taking any question at all on 165 and we're expecting the stock to go. All right, so that, not very, I didn't really try to hide this much. That's probably some of the biggest amount of prints I've seen printed in Apple. All right, so we're going to be looking for a very big pull-up coming into the stock before this thing ends up getting murdered. So that's an easy one. Overall downside to come up first. NVDA is another one. 145 just keeps getting great selling. Now, we don't have any prints like that came into it, but 145 has been hit so many times. We got another $3 pull-up towards that upside. This thing is coming down to this double bottom. I mean, there's just no question. And based off the selling that we got this morning, no way that it's going to be holding 140. SQ is just everything's just getting murdered. I mean, it's very simple. So basically, well, the selling that we just saw coming in, and I use Apple, as you guys know, as my my Dow Jones. So it's not looking good by any means. Do we think 140 was enough? I would have expected more, to be honest with you. I was looking for underneath that 150 because remember we have that huge selling at 150, but at the same time we have selling all the way down in this, and look at this consolidation that the stock has been in. They've had so much time to build this position, so I'm okay with it falling right now. From what it looks like, to be completely honest, we're getting more than halfway down. It almost looks like it wants to complete its range underneath this double bottom, and I don't know if something was said or whatever it is, but I mean, these days it's not really hard. Press short and wait a little bit, and eventually you're going to make some money. And I mean, the selling in Apple, that's incredible. So I'm going to put that in a high percentage plays, obviously. Apple, I mean, it's just going to be too easy. So I would expect Apple, of that much selling, guys, to probably come somewhere close to getting back up to that 170 overall before we see that real big move down. To be honest, I mean, that's just a huge amount of print. So Apple's on our high percentage plays. J&J is going to break below the double. That will now going to be triple bottom. And other than that, I mean, you don't really need much more. I mean, you could pick a cheaper stock like SQ. Just had a bunch of prints at 59.50. Looks like we're going to end up seeing a move down before we end up getting that thing to start pulling back up. But overall, guys, it's murder. Absolute murder. TLRY. Let's take a look. I haven't really looked at it too much today. I don't remember seeing anything that was interesting, any type of real selling that was coming in. You could see, I mean, when it looks like the chart showed a lot of bit of selling, the volume is literally, I mean, 15,000 shares, which is just not much. Overall, TLRY, see, that's the thing, is that the 80 level, you got to remember something, is that the pull up itself was coming from all selling. So, I mean, it should pull up above 80, but you know what? I mean, it's getting murdered. I mean, it's a terrible company. It's absolute garbage. So when we saw that selling, I mean, don't get me wrong, the position was to take was under, was that 100. But it's just such a terrible company. But another thing too, I mean, the stock moves on average $16. For this thing to move back up above 80, that's one day. So I'm still expecting a pull up above 80, but overall, I'm still short. I'm not taking anything off of it. If anything on that pull up, I'm going to probably add to my position. All right, guys, let's get ready for the afternoon. Let's just, at this point, guys, if you can't beat them, join them. Let's just encourage the selling. I mean, I personally don't have anything longer term that's not short, so I don't really care. I would love to continue to see selling. I know some people have some longer term stuff that I kind of feel a little bit bad for, but I'm going to have to root on the bears in this position. Position to take was short at 250. Well, technically at 300, Matt. All right, guys, let's get ready for the afternoon, and I will talk to everyone in the chat. Happy trading.